My name is Clayton, and welcome to episode number 93 of the Watch Dang podcast. I'm a professional dog runner and watch enthusiast talking to his pals about dogs and watches. How is everybody doing? Thank you so much for listening. You know I appreciate it. Well, if you live in the United States, and actually just found out from listening to the latest episode of the Grey NATO podcast with James Stacy and Jason Heaton, that they also celebrate Labor Day in Canada. So to all of my Canadian and American listeners alike, happy Labor Day. Yes, the unofficial end of summer. One final 3-day weekend to fire those grills up one more time before school starts again and the cold autumn weather hits us. I love this time of year. Football season starts. Halloween is right around the corner. I love scary movies. I work outside with dogs. Warm weather is not our friend. So I know while most people are at the beach, I am just sweating my ass off, eagerly waiting for the cooler weather to hit. I know I'm a weirdo, but so be it. So before we get into the main topic this week, I wanted to try something fun and silly. It's the start of a 3-day weekend. Let's let our hair down a little bit. Well, I'm bald, but you can let your hair down. So I think it was on a Breitling Facebook group, a gentleman decided to use ChatGPT to roast some of his watches. Roasts are all the rage. I don't know if you saw the Tom Brady roast on Netflix earlier this summer, I believe it was. I thought that was hilarious, a little raunchy, so I wouldn't watch it around the kids, or, you know, if you're not into that style of humor, it might not be your thing, but hey, the raunchier, the better for me. So I loved it. And then on Watch Soup, we covered a video from Watches with Dennis, where he roasted some of his viewers' collections. So yeah, this kind of thing is in vogue. It's fun. And yeah, this guy on the Breitling Facebook group decided to use ChatGPT to roast his Breitling Navitimer. I thought it was a pretty funny response, so that gave me an idea. I will roast my collection with ChatGPT and share a couple of the results with you. I have a couple divisive watches that are not everybody's cup of tea, I think it's safe to say. So I threw them in the old ChatGPT, and let's see if they hurt my feelings or not. So the Rolex Air King. I think it's the ugly redheaded stepchild of the Rolex lineup. Everybody thought they were going to discontinue it a few years ago based on the gauges of a supercar that never took off. But nope, they doubled down on the weirdness and it's still in their lineup. And that's what I love about it. I love that it's a little quirky, sort of has Explorer DNA with the 3, 6, and 9. But then a bunch of 5s on the rest of the dial, right? So yeah, everybody thinks it's ugly. I love it. It's actually, in fact, one of the only modern Rolex watches that does anything for me whatsoever. Otherwise, their designs they're nice. They make great watches, but the designs really aren't my thing. That's why I love the Air King so much. So let's see what ChatGPT has to say about the Rolex Air King. The Rolex Air King looks like Rolex decided to mix aviation with a bit of 90s retro flair, I don't know about that, and came up with a watch that's a bit like an overgrown kid's science project. That's more like it. It's got a dial that's as cluttered as a teenager's bedroom, or my bedroom, and its oversized numbers make it seem like it's trying really hard to be noticed. It's the kind of watch that says, I love flying, but I also love a good conversation starter, whether it's about timekeeping or my questionable design choices. I think that fits me to a T. My clean laundry is all over the place. My wife hates it, but it's easier for me to find, right? If it's just in a basket when I'm scrambling to go to work in the morning. And that's a lot what the Rolex Air King is like, I guess. Oh, God. This may get deleted. And then I also typed in the H. Moser Endeavor. Now, I have the concept dial, which means no logo, no indices, no nothing. Just the funky blue colorway, hour hand, minute hand, second hand, and that's it. Otherwise, a sterile dial. That's the one I have. Not everybody's thing. I understand that, but I think it's really cool. I didn't buy that watch to tell the time. I bought that watch because I like the art statement it's making. But here's what ChatGPT has to say about my Moser Endeavor. The H. Moser & C. Endeavor is the watch equivalent of a highbrow art piece that makes you question if you're missing the point. I think a lot of people miss the point with that watch. It's so minimalist, it's like they took a regular watch and went, what if we made it look like someone forgot to finish it? It's not just understated, it's practically invisible. If subtlety were a sport, this watch would be in the did you even see it category. Yep, I think that sums up how most people feel about that watch. It's a love it or hate it watch, I think. So yeah, you should try it. Go into ChatGPT, enter some of your watches, and feel free to share them with me. You can send me a text message. You can click the link in the show notes, send me a message on Instagram, or go to my YouTube page. There will be a link to that in the show notes as well. And leave a comment on the bottom of this video of the podcast. So yeah, all kinds of ways to reach out and communicate with me now. Would love to read what ChatGPT has to say about your watches. Okay, enough of that tomfoolery. Let's get on to the main topic for today's episode. So many of us watch enthusiasts are almost forced to buy the majority of the watches that we want online. There's just no way for us to check these models out in person. Many of them aren't even at authorized dealers, and a lot of us don't even live close to an authorized dealer. So we buy blindly online. And we're just looking for a safe way to do that to ensure that we get an authentic watch in the condition that we want for the price that we want. Lately, I've been seeing a lot of posts asking about the safety of buying on Chrono24. I bought a watch on Chrono24 this year, so hey, I thought I'd share my experience. I'm not saying this is going to be your experience. I make no promises. Just want to get that disclaimer out there up front. No promises. This is just what I experienced, and I thought I'd share it with you. Your mileage may vary, as they say. I've always been a little leery of buying on eBay. I think it's just a mental block. I know people that buy on eBay all the time and have not had any bad experiences. I've sold on eBay, and I've not found that to be all that pleasant, to be honest. The fees are ridiculous. People commit to buying and then they back out. They just never pay. And I think eBay is on the side of the buyer most of the time. So I guess it is sort of buyer friendly. Also, the authenticity part of it. I know above a certain price point, they send it out to be verified and authenticated, but I don't know. I don't know what it is. I have a hang up about believing that stuff. I don't know how thorough they are. And I don't think I've spent more than like $150 on a watch on eBay. Several people I know have bought luxury watches from there. That's just not something I want to do. Same with Joma Shop. Again, I just have this mental block. I've heard the horror stories sort of outweigh the positive experiences. Isn't that the way it usually is? Right? Somebody can tell you a million positive things about you, give you compliments, but that one negative thing somebody says about you, that's the thing you choose to believe, right? This is not a self-help podcast, but believe the positive stuff. But anyway, that's how I feel about Joma Shop and eBay. I tend to reflect on the negative things I've heard versus the positive things I've heard. So I've always just been looking for a way to buy the watches I want, those rare, hard to find watches that usually are only on eBay, but I don't trust it. So Chrono24, I'd heard a few good things, and then late last year, Citizen finally announced that they were offering the Citizen models on their US website. Well, I think they had two, right? But these are watches. They're sort of Citizen's answer to Grand Seiko. The finishing is close to Grand Seiko. I wouldn't say it's quite there, but it's close. They have these beautiful washi paper dials. Majority of them are EcoDrive solar watches, but on steroids, perpetual calendar. The A060 movement is in the majority of them, plus or minus 5 seconds per year, so even more accurate than a 9F on paper anyway. These are, like I said, $3,000 to $4,000. Most people in the United States have no idea these even exist. The thought of paying that much for a Citizen boggles the mind of most watch enthusiasts, right? Citizen is a brand we associate with value and picking up at the mall for a couple $100. Who in their right mind would spend that much on a Citizen? Well, I think around November last year, I get an ad on Facebook from the Citizen US website. They now have the Citizen Chronomaster model, and I fell in love. It had this gorgeous washi paper dial with platinum leaf mixed in with the paper. Now, the washi paper is so thin that sunlight can get through it and charge the watch. It's also a perpetual calendar, super titanium with Duratect. So these watches are just incredible. $4,300, a limited edition of 500 pieces. Oh my gosh, I fell in love. I've said it before. Grand Seiko bracelets haven't necessarily worked for me. I wanted to try Citizen. I love Citizen watches. I've had, mostly under $1,000 Citizen models before, and I've always found them to be just excellent quality. Something Seiko doesn't always offer, quite frankly. But in the back of my mind, I knew that was probably too much to pay. If you want one of these watches, you don't have to pay retail. So I took a gamble and went on Chrono24. And I saw them for much, much less, but from Japan. Now, the first tip, I guess I will say, there's two different types of sellers on Chrono24. There's private sellers, like if I went on Chrono24 to sell a watch, I'm a private seller, right? And then there are dealers. And in Japan, a lot of these dealers are selling brand new watches. So they had this Citizen AQ 4100-65W. That's the very catchy model name of this watch. And I was stressing, $4,300 US, I get 5 years of warranty. On this type of watch, I don't know if you necessarily need that. Solar watches are going to hold up for a long, long time, especially if you keep them fully charged. And I do. I wear my watches fairly often, and they are stored by a window, so they get plenty of sunlight. And the great thing about EcoDrive is they just need natural light. Just don't store them in a dark room, and you'll be fine. But, I had reservations about ordering from Japan. You hear about import duties, VAT. If I pay $3,000 or a little more, what are those import duties going to be like when it's delivered to my house? Will it end up being even more than $4,300 total? Am I better off just buying it from Citizen's website with no discount? So I found one from Japan for right around $3,000. I click on the seller. Happy time. I'm happy to promote this seller because it ended up being a great experience, but more on that later. 5-star rating. That's about the highest you can get. And that's the other thing I would do. If you're buying from a private seller or from a dealer, they always say buy the seller. And on Chrono24, that would be my advice. There are reviews there as well, so you can click on them. You can click on their 5. You want 5, right? Why would you go for a 4.6, 4.7? Look for those perfect rating scores, and then there will be reviews. Now, I just trust that they're legitimate reviews and not paid, not planted. I trust that these are legitimate reviews because what else can you do? I'm a skeptical person, but I have to believe these are legit reviews. So this Happy Time has 5-star rating, and it's so much cheaper. I'm saving $1,300 off of the retail price. That's a nice discount, right? There's an option where you can send them a message. So I did. I just said, I'm very interested in this watch, but I'm a little nervous about the import duties. And the seller got back to me promptly, gave me a lower offer. So offered me a lower price. I didn't even ask about that yet. I was getting there, but he came with an offer that I felt was pretty good, under $3,000, just under. And he wrote me a message explaining about the import duty fees. And I'm going to read that message. I have heard so many people have different experiences with this, so I'm not saying this is gospel. This is Stone again. Your mileage may vary here, but I'm just going to read the message that this seller sent me. I don't know much about the taxes, the sales tax, import tax, and customs fees in the United States. Because the regions are different, the sales tax in US are different. And this is sales tax, but he also goes into the import tax as well. But according to previous experience, when you place your order, Chrono24 will charge you US sales tax 6 to 9%, depending on the state you live in, right? And the watch will incur an import tax of about 4% when it arrives at US Customs. So based on what I paid, he said the import tax would be about $100, give or take. We will ship the watch to you by FedEx after you pay. All right, so that leaves me pretty excited. I'm going to make out okay, get this watch I want, save well over $1,000 off of what Citizen was offering it for on their website. I'm a little nervous. A couple people reached out to me privately in some groups I'm in when I said I was thinking about doing this and said, listen, I bought a watch for $3,000 and I paid quite a hefty import tax, different from what this gentleman, the seller, had told me. And people were actually like, oh, I've been thinking about doing this too, but we're going to make you the guinea pig. We're going to see what you have to pay in import tax, and then maybe I'll buy a watch from Japan on Chrono24. So I placed the order on a Sunday night here in the United States. It's Monday morning in Japan. I kid you not, the seller was great with communication the whole way through. Showed me pictures of the packaging and all of that, shipped it off. We talked all the way through this experience. I got the watch on Tuesday, 2 days later. So not even 2 days later, not even 48 hours later, I had the watch shipped from Japan on my wrist. Just an awesome experience. The communication was great. Now, some carriers like DHL, UPS, FedEx, some will charge you the import duties right when they deliver the watch. DHL, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe DHL won't give you the product, won't give you the package until you pay the import duties, whatever it might be. FedEx sends you an invoice about a week later. So I had the watch for a great price. I loved the watch. It was brand new in box. Condition was exactly as stated. Stickered, not sized, stickered, fully stickered. Gorgeous watch. I love the watch. I still have it. Hey, in 9 months, that's a long time for me. Still have the watch. Still wear it all the time. Beautiful, beautiful piece. But still, there was that part of me that was anxious. Like, am I going to get a bill for $700 for the import tax? Oh, my God. I think it was a week later. I opened the mailbox. There it is. The invoice from FedEx. Oh, geez. So I open it. $100. You know, spot on from what the seller said. Paid that. No problem. I'm in like, $3,100-ish total on this watch that, retailed for over $4,000 on the Citizen website. Now, I don't get the 5 years of warranty. I only get one. I'm buying it from Japan, but that's okay. Again, I don't foresee any issues with this watch. It's been a solid, accurate watch for me so far. It's still at full solar charge. Perpetual calendar is amazing. It's a little tricky to set. Watch Geek, the YouTube channel, he has a lot of how-tos on not only G-Shock modules, but also on many of these The Citizen movements on the A060. So if you're buying one of these and you're confused on how to set the perpetual calendar, I'll put a link to Watch Geek's video in the show notes because he makes it really easy. And the true test came in February when it went from 29 to March 1st. I was like, yes, I said it correctly. So that was my experience. Overall, very positive, and I left him a positive review. And now if I buy another watch from Japan, I have thought about buying some other The Citizen models. They have Campanola models over there that are really cool. I'm a high accuracy quartz geek, so many different options. He sells Grand Seiko. He sells Casio Oceanus, regular Seiko, a number of different watches. But I'll put a link to his Chrono24 page if I can. Happy time. I recommend him wholeheartedly. Like I said, I'm not guaranteeing you'll have the same experience I did, but I thought it was great and relatively painless. And, that's not an inexpensive watch. I kind of blindly went into it, and I shared my experience with my friends, and I think that has opened them up now to maybe doing the same thing themselves based on my positive experience. I also had a friend say, you know what, that's bullshit. I bought a watch from Japan that was way less expensive than $3,000, and I paid several $100s more than you did in import tax. Who knows how it works? I have no idea. I just know that it worked out very well for me, and I would have no qualms about buying from a dealer again on Chrono24. So yeah, that's my experience. Again, I would just say buy the seller, look at those reviews. I hate to throw shade against any private seller out there on Chrono24, but I would just buy from a dealer. That's just me. The good thing about Chrono24 is your money is held in escrow for 14 days. You buy a watch, the seller does not get the money in their account right away. You have 14 days. Like I had 14 days with that Citizen. If I felt it wasn't authentic, if it came to me all beat up and scratched up, didn't match the condition description, I could dispute it and get my money back. They don't get that money right away. And I think that's a great, great thing. You are protected as a buyer on Chrono24. You can file a claim, and then the money goes back to you. So yeah, again, there's a level of safety there. There's a level of confidence there. And that's why I felt comfortable buying on Chrono24 as opposed to eBay and Joma Shop. And I know I'm paranoid, I'm neurotic, so most of you probably have no issues whatsoever buying on eBay and Joma Shop, but I do. I've never been a fan of it. I don't think I ever will spend big money on either of those sites. I'm team Chrono24 all the way. This is not a paid endorsement. They don't know who I am. I'm just somebody who used the product and really enjoyed it. So that's my experience. Like I said, no guarantees you will have the same positive experience I did. If you had a negative experience, please share it with me, and I'll read it on the podcast if you're comfortable with that. Just want to give everybody the unvarnished truth, whether good or bad, about Chrono24. Because like I said, websites like this are the only way we can buy the watches we want, especially us enthusiasts who are digging a little deeper and buying the stuff that's not necessarily mainstream. So yes, thank you so much. Again, be sure to shoot me a text message, like and subscribe on the YouTube channel as well. I would like that to grow. Again, I know many of you do not listen to podcasts traditionally, so getting it on YouTube might be perfect for you. And it's a great way for you to leave a comment. Again, if you like it, if you don't like it, whatever the case may be, leave a comment. I'll be able to get it and respond. Have a great Labor Day weekend if you're in the United States or Canada. Celebrate safely. The cold weather is coming. All right. Until next week, we'll see you on the next episode of the Watch Dang podcast. See you later.